Okay, I'm going to demonstrate making something called patate con l'uovo, which is basically leftover roasted potatoes, in this case I'm using, with eggs, onion, some herbs from the garden, and some cheese. And this happens to be from Montfort Dairy, and it's wine, I think it's wine-soaked goat cheese. Okay, so let's get to it here. So let's get, as I said, we've got some herbs from the garden. So I've got chives here. So it's gonna basically use whatever you want. So this is just my version of this. I got chives from the garden. Chop these up. That's good. Chives over here. Got some rosemary from my rosemary plant in the yard. So I'll take some of that. Take the leaves off, don't chop the stem. The stem's too hard. Don't use that. So, okay, rosemary, and then I've got some thyme in my garden as well. Now take the thyme leaves off, go backwards on the stem, and the leaves should come off like that. So if you think about where the stem comes from, let's go backwards from the tip of the stem, and softly, carefully, and you should be able to get the leaves off the thyme. Okay, we're going to take the rosemary and the thyme, and I'm just going to chop it up a bit. Most of the rosemary is getting chopped up because the thyme's pretty small. That should be good. Okay, so I've got some herbs from the garden. You could use dried herbs if you want. We're going to cut an onion here. We're going to do half of an onion. So it's a large onion. So this is going to be like a sort. It's not really an omelet. It's in cooked eggs with potato being the primary vegetable. But there will be other onions, as I say, and some herbs and some cheese, and it'll come out like a pancake, sort of like a. I'm not sure what to call it, but anyway. In Italian, it's patate con l'uovo, which just means potatoes with eggs. Okay, there's the onions. Now this piece of cheese, you can use as much cheese as you want, but got a little piece like that. It should be bitey cheese, you know, like not mild cheese. It should be a little bit strong. This is goat cheese. I'm just gonna dice it up. Or just slice it up like that, so on the side. And then we've got these roasted potatoes, which, you know, from a couple days ago, left over, and I'm just gonna kind of chop them up a bit. And then these are gonna go and get, you'll see what I do with them in the pan, but I'll just take these and kind of chop them up like this. Just indiscriminately chop them up. And we'll go to the pan in a second. And we'll need some eggs. So I'm going to do 4 eggs for this as well. So we'll just crack the eggs, beat them, and then they get poured in a bit. We'll show you that in a moment. Okay, so we're going to cook this up, and first thing we'll do is add some olive oil to our pan, which is heating up right now. Not too much, maybe a teaspoon and a half, tablespoon, something like that, because we're going to be frying up the potatoes first. And put the potatoes in. So these are leftover potatoes. Normally with this dish, I will take raw potatoes and cube them up a lot smaller than this, so that they have a chance to cook in the pan before we move to the next part. So this is kind of covering up the bottom of the pan here. And I take one of these wooden spoons here. We're gonna let these crisp up a bit, then we'll kind of squish them up a little bit. So I'm just gonna, these are, you know, because this is cooked potato, I kind of like it squished up. We're gonna get them all crispy and nice and crispy in here. And we'll also add in onion in a minute. So these are gonna cook. I've got my heat at a fairly high temperature. You want a pan this big because you're gonna make a big pancake out of this. So that's starting up. Let's add our onion. onion in. So it's about half an onion. Okay, there's a half onion. So I'm going to move this around. Flatten it out a bit here like this, so it's going to start cooking, start crisping up. Now with the chives and herbs and that, I'll wait just a little bit longer once these are crisped up a little bit to add those in, just to maximize the flavor so that they don't lose their flavor or their aroma. This is looking pretty good. So this way, like, if it's raw potatoes, it's probably like 8 to 10 minutes where you're, cooking them in the pan and flipping them and, mixing them and everything like that. These are already cooked. We're going to probably spend 3.5 to 4 minutes cooking these with the onions. We'll just mix them up a little bit here. Yeah, at this point, usually I would put in salt, but I think we'll wait till the end to salt this, because you really want to control your salt. You'll have to wait till the end to manage how much you want. Salt it to taste. So maybe another minute or so, then we'll add our herbs in, and then we'll cook it for another couple minutes after that. So the herbs, I mean, you could use any kind of herb in here that you like. I just happen to have chives, rosemary, thyme in my garden. If you had some basil, you could use that as well. The thing about basil and what we call a soft herb like that, basil, and is that it's a little bit softer. You don't want to add it too early on, because I think you lose the flavor. It's really, part of it is the smell, the scent that you get through your nose. But with rosemary and thyme and that, you're good to add those in earlier. So I'm just going to add these in now. Okay, the herbs are in. Going to mix it all in. We'll do another, like I said, maybe another 2-3 minutes before we move to the next piece. So you can make these as crispy as you like it. I may cook them a little longer just because I like it crispy. So maybe we'll make it like 4 minutes. Okay, so this has been frying up for about 4 or 5 minutes now, and it's starting to brown up, as you can tell. Now, last minute addition, I decided that I would put in some garlic. You can put garlic in, or you can not put garlic in, it's up to you. But I'm going to put it in now, do another minute or so, putting the garlic infused in the potatoes. But you don't want to burn the garlic, because burnt garlic is no fun. So, alright, so there, like another 20 seconds here. Okay. So now we want a fairly flat surface here. We want to cover as much area with your potatoes as you can. Burn it all out. You want to cover as much of the pan with potatoes as you can, so there's no layered potatoes, it's just all in one layer. Okay, now I'm going to turn the temperature down here to about a 4 on my element. And we're going to add in our eggs. So slowly go around, go from the outside first, and then move your way into the middle, like that. Right, the eggs are in here. So we're just going to let that settle for a bit here. Now I'm going to do a version of this where, so traditionally you take this and we will use a plate to flip it so we have both sides cooked. What I'm going to do is a slight variation here. I'm just going to do, put a little bit of water in to steam the top, and that way it's a little simpler. So add a little bit of water in here, just a tiny bit. So now the water's in there. I'll cover that over for about a minute and a half, something like that. So let me just put a timer on. I can prove it's about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. Okay, so this has been covered over for about 2.5 minutes. Actually 2 minutes on the timer, but I did add a little more time and a tiny bit more water. So, okay, timer's going off, so it's about 2.5 minutes. I added a little more water because it wasn't quite steaming. So, if you've ever done a sunny side up egg, it's the same technique. So you see it's now pretty solid on the top. We're gonna add our cheese. Just spread it out, different spots. And then we'll just give it another 30 seconds covered up so that the cheese will melt a bit. Okay. At this point, what we're going to do is just I'm going to put some salt on the top now. I never salted earlier. You could salt earlier in the process if you wish, but if you want to control the salt a little better, put some at the end, taste it, see if it's good, and then you can add some more salt if you wish. So I'm just going to slide this baby off. Let's put it over here, so put this plate here. It should fit on a plate. Alright, here we go. And there you go. So that's a potato omelet, I guess. I don't know. It's a eggs with potato. Slightly different than the traditional because I used cooked potatoes that were left over. And that's it. Enjoy.